Hi, my name's Chuck McClary. I'm a photographer based in Heston, Kansas. So I got started with photography when I was working at a small local museum in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. There were two employees, myself and the curator. So we were, he was much older than me, and so since I was young, I was the person who did the social media. And along with that came posting about museum events and things like that on social media. And I wanted pictures that were better than what my phone could take, and so I picked up their Canon T3, not quite the T3i, but the T3, and started shooting with that. And I took one photo that was accidentally good, and I got interested in how I could make photos that were good on purpose. So I started learning from a book called Stunning Digital Photography, and I learned a lot of my early stuff from YouTube, and then some of my more advanced stuff later on from online courses. Used to be lynda.com, I think. I don't know what it is now. Oh, LinkedIn Learning is what it is now. I'm not sponsored. So I learned from mostly online sources and from books and things like that, and was doing photography as a hobby. And what got me started and I've always been more interested in landscape photography, and specifically landscape astrophotography. So with astrophotography, there are multiple different types. Some are deep sky objects where someone gets out a big telescope and takes thousands of exposures and blends all those together. What I like to do is a photo with a fairly normal lens and have something in the foreground and then the stars in the background behind it. So the reason I got interested in that is because before moving to Arkansas, I worked at a space museum in Hutchinson, Kansas called the Cosmosphere, and I did a lot of work in their planetarium. So I had a lot of knowledge about the night sky, more than most people do. Not as much as an astronomer or even a hobby astronomer. I still don't have that much knowledge, but more than the average person. So I started trying to take photos of the night sky with something in the foreground. I moved back to Kansas in 2018 and started working at the Cosmosphere again in their education department. And then eventually at the Cosmosphere, a new position opened up for photo and video. So now I do photo and video full-time for the Cosmosphere, specifically for their Launch Next website, launchnext.org. That's not me personally, that's the Cosmosphere. But so I do photography full-time, and I take photos of their summer camps and things like that, but in my spare time I still do landscape and landscape astrophotography. And I've also kind of branched out to car photography at car shows, and I have an interest in aviation as well, so I go to as many air shows as I can. So I've kind of narrowed my scope and then started to broaden it back out a little bit. I forgot about the favorite techniques. So one of my favorite techniques, specifically with landscape astrophotography, is lighting the foreground with what's called light painting. So basically, I get a whole bunch of exposures for the sky, and the camera's open for a really long time, about 15 seconds, 20 times, and then stack all those together to reduce image noise. But that's what I do for the background of the photo. And then for whatever's in the foreground, often I will use my headlamp. I will do a 10-second shutter speed on my camera. If you're a photographer yourself, I usually go with 10 seconds, f5.6 for a deeper depth of field. A fairly low ISO of like 1,000, and then just paint the foreground with light using my headlamp that I always have with me when I'm doing that kind of thing. So you can see one example of that in the gallery here with the photo called Ad Astra. You can find my work on Instagram at McClary.photo, on Facebook as McClary Photography, on the web at McClaryphotography.com. I sell prints there too, and I'm also selling prints at the gallery showing. So.